The San Francisco Shock have dealt a crushing defeat to the Shanghai Dragons, getting revenge from 2021, where Shanghai beat them in playoffs in similar fashion. Both of these teams were part of the four favorites for the tournament heading into this match, but no one expected the absolute pounding this was. But how did it happen? Let's see. Firstly, heading to the first map, I think it's important to note the key differences in comps. Shanghai run Brig instead of a second flex support option, and Lip runs Sojourn instead of Ashe. I think the biggest issue here is the Brig instead of the second flex. In a poke dive composition like the two are running, the ability to peel is very different, as well as the utility both Zen and Ana provide. It is a reason everyone runs them, and both top teams are Zen and Zen teams. Zen's Discord Orb and newfound survivability makes them maybe the best support in the game, especially in the hands of people like Finn and Isayaki. And honestly, Sleep Dart and Bionade are still busted in a world of no shields. I think the choice to forego one of these two, especially in the poke-oriented Oasis, it worked in the less open map of the building, but in the other two maps, not as much. Her self-sustainability is also lacking, as seen in the many times Violet hits him with a Bionade or he gets hit with some other ability and gets low and has to be passive. It just isn't providing much utility here. Now, I know what you're going to say. Violet also made the swap to Brig in round 3, and they turned it around with that. If Brig is so bad, why did this work? Well, Kaluj also made a key swap here, to the Diva. This prevents the issue Li Jae has been having, being whittled down by poke damage or being overly vulnerable due to dives, while allowing Violet to be more aggressive. This also points to an overall issue with the Dragons the next two rounds and the rest of the series. They're simply too passive. While they can be aggressive once they find their footing, repeatedly taking engagements to the Shock in round 1 off the back of Fate and Flood dives, their attacks were slow. Flood and Fate took way too long to push in, and it often took Lip several kills before they were able to break through, if they ever did. And with the team being so split up, it was easy pickings for Proper and Kaluj to clean up kills. It also really just points to a larger issue here. Flood is simply way worse at Tracer than Proper. Proper is so aggressive and so good at confirming kills, while Flood is often unable to go off on his own and pick off the backline. Proper hard diffed him all game, and it only gets worse. It wasn't all bad though. Lip had a lot of great picks. Flood and Fate had some good Doomfist and Tracer dives, and Isayaki was Isayaki. But ultimately, the support issues from Li Jae forcing Brig and their passiveness brought on by Flood's inability to match Proper is what cost them. Next up, Shanghai making the foolish mistake of taking Shock to Eichenwald, which I believe they were undefeated on in this tournament up to this point. They roll out of the expected comps. Shanghai running the ball comp they did on Oasis, and Shock running their Echo Diva comp they've been so successful with. Now, I think it's time to talk a bit about why Shock run Diva here. Where most teams opt for the Winston or Ball, the main reason is because of the narrow corridors in Eichenwald and the extended sightlines. It allows for Kaluj to be anywhere and everywhere he needs. Flood and Fate having the backline, Kaluj is there. Proper is diving in and needs support, Kaluj is there. Need to shut down an entire fucking corridor for like 3 whole seconds, Kaluj is there. Most teams want to use heroes like Ball or Winston to isolate the support line, but this Diva comp is able to negate a lot of that. Another reason Shock want to use this is because Kaluj is just really fucking good at Diva. Like, he's really fucking insane. He's pretty much everywhere he needs to be at all times, and he's great at managing his cooldowns. And don't even get me started on his bombs. The value he gets out of them are insane. Taking one fight, for example, Shock chased Shanghai into a small corridor, but then get punished by the Dragons who take out most of them. Kaluj is able to stall for a while after, but then when he gets low, he uses his bomb to push everyone off cart and escaping with his life, allowing the rest of the Shock to respawn and retake the point pretty fast. I know Diva isn't played a ton, but this comp would not be nearly as successful if Kaluj wasn't as good as he is. He's genuinely Void Hanbin level on the Diva. It's insane. But again, that's not to absolve the Dragons from any blame. Yes, Shock played this defense extremely well, but Flood and Fate were also not taking any space whatsoever. They both had very sloppy and unorganized dives throughout the attack. It took nearly no space whatsoever for Lip to do his thing. It took a Shock overextension just to win a fight, and though they did have some nice rotations and the back cap nearly made them take second, they just frankly did not do their job properly and let Proper and Kaluj take all the space in the world. This extended to their defense as well. They backed all the way up to the point immediately and opened the map up for a free kill until Lip an immediate take from the Shock. And then Shanghai basically just eternally back off while Proper and Sam break the ankles of the Dragons. Really messy map from Shanghai with nearly no positives. They had some good rotations, but ultimately Flood and Fate were unable to do their job, seeing the phenomenal plays from Kaluj, Finn, and Violet, who, by the way, kept sleeping Flood on the Tracer. What a goat. It was unable to match the map control from Kaluge and Proper. We enter the final map, another foolish choice by the Dragons, Circuit Royale. They put in Void and Bebe, a lineup they've struggled with before thanks to the lack of a shot caller. Both teams roll out in the same comp, Widow, Sojourn, Sigma, Zen, and Bab. This is the ultimate poke comp. The supports in Sigma act as a bunker while the Widows and Sojourns take pot shots at each other. The main reason for this is, again, Moon seems to rely a ton on Lip to just carry them. It is taking them to hitscan heavy maps in order to maximize his ability to do so. It's ultimately a big problem for Shanghai this year. Their success relies entirely on Lip to pop off, as if he evades any resistance, the team just falls over. While their offense was decent, surprise surprise, due to Lip carrying, their defense was god-awful. It shows a lack of confidence and likely mental crumble for the Dragons, which is very uncharacteristic. If Dragons lose a player, they completely collapse no matter the man advantage. If Shock lose a player, they keep fighting and often win. Right off the bat, Lip gets a clean kill on Tequila, but what does the Shock do? Proper finds a good angle to poke at the Dragons, Kaluge goes forward and takes out Pepe. The Dragons' defense collapses. While they get a good hold due to Shock overextending, Proper immediately clamps back and solos the Dragons. Dragons let the point go almost entirely through point C without contesting. Fleta gets picked and the Dragons hold up in a corner and die. There was a total of 4 fights that entire round, because Dragons kept backing away from the Shock, they were way too passive. They kept backing up, engaging maybe once per point, where he Shock did a fantastic job maintaining their tempo and aggression even when the Dragons got first pick. Contrast this with the Dragons' offense. They start with a pick onto Proper. That should be a fight win, right? Well, Fleta gets uncharacteristically greedy and feeds, and Kilo kills Slip, and the Dragons collapse. Next, in a fight after Dragons take point A, Lip kills 3 people, but Void gets picked late into the fight, and the Dragons completely back off despite a 4 versus 3 advantage. The amount of fights where Dragons get an early pick and simply don't capitalize on it is absurd. Not to mention the obvious misplays caused by communication issues, most likely. Void being aggro by himself, letting Proper flank and kill everyone. Void going very low and yet not getting the immortality field. Not to mention the lack of point pressure and horrible macro. And that's getting Fleta getting hard gapped by Proper part 827. And Bebe continuing to be unimpressive. And Kilo proving to be pushing top 5 hit scans in the league, going toe to toe with Lip. Overall, this is a match that opened up several weaknesses for the Dragons. They have to force comp around Lee Jae-gon and Fate's hero pool due to Bebe and Void underperforming. Fleta's Tracer and Sojourn are underwhelming compared to the new superstars like Kevster, Proper, Prophet. Hell, even Venom, Zest, and Alfie and a few others are gapping his Tracer. It also highlights the Shock's strength, crazy aggression and confidence that can make any team roll over, except Glads and Playoff Atlanta, of course. They can't get punished for being over aggressive and overextending, but it's still a strength for them in my opinion. And they have insane star power and carry potential, as well as teamwork to bring it all together. And the flexibility across the roster, I do think Dragons will continue to be at least decent. They are 9-3 for a reason after all. After this match in Atlanta, it's clear Dragons have gaping weaknesses and over-rely on Lip far too much. They make it this far, you're a champ. Let me know in the comments which match you'd like to see me break down. I'm currently planning to do Seoul vs Hangzhou next, but I'm open to suggestions. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit like and subscribe for more. I upload nearly daily Overwatch League content, and I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs at the end of Season 5, so any subscription helps greatly. Thanks.